Let's talk a little bit about the Night House, folklore, fairy tales, rites and magic for the wise and wild by Danielle Dulsky, the author of The Holy Wild. I just focus in a little bit on the recommendation by Aura North up here. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So this is published by New World Library. I don't know this publisher, but I really did enjoy reading this one. The perspective here is that of fairy tales and folk tales being repositories of ancient magic and teaching of how we can relate to ourselves, our unconscious mind, our conscious mind, to each other and to the world around us. And Danielle Dulsky has presented these tales from the perspective of being initiatory tales. And yeah, she's done a really, really nice job. I would recommend this book to the same to the same audience as the audience that may have enjoyed reading The Women Who Run with the Wolves, right? It's got a similarly feminist perspective. And beyond that, I'd say that it's not just feminist, but written by a woman for women. That's certainly the outlook that you get by reading her words here, but the lessons taught by these tales are universal, and whoever you may be, there are important lessons to be learnt through these stories, and Danielle really navigates those lessons quite beautifully in the following way. So, first of all, a very interesting introduction talking about the history of folk tales and their use throughout history. But then you get into the stories themselves. And so the way every chapter works, and there are 13 chapters, is that you get a nice little introductory quotation, and then you get an introduction to this setting for the story, the gimmick. It's probably a wrong word, but yeah, the way this is laid out is from the perspective of a house, specifically a night house rather than a day house, right? And this night house has many rooms, and each of these rooms is a particular environment in which one of these important stories takes place. So one of the rooms, for example, is a haunted woodland, and you're encouraged to think about these environments and to think about how they make you feel and what lessons they may have to teach you, and so on. And yeah, the author encourages us with examples of how it may make us feel, so that we can decide, no, actually, it doesn't make me feel that way. It makes me feel this other way, and then you can work with that. So then you are also encouraged to work through these rites. Yeah. So you get a little introduction to what kind of physical preparations you might make before actually reading the story itself. And then the author kind of retells the story, and she has included in these stories some traditional elements that have been cleansed out of some of the better known versions of those stories that have been sanitized for a modern parent's sensitivities. But yeah, these are not the versions that you're necessarily going to be reading to your children, necessarily anyway. But they have some of those original elements reintroduced. Some of the elements have been changed simply, not for traditional versions, not for traditional options, but simply because it suits the author's the direction that the author would like to point the reader into, right, in this particular part of this 13-part initiation, right? So in the story of the Little Red Riding Hood, for example, the grandmother comes out not alive, and the Little Red Riding Hood, or should I say the Red Hood, excuse me, is the one who revives her grandmother because it's useful for the story. Okay, so that's interesting. I'm going to say that the language is generally flowery, poetic, but certainly not obtuse, or obscure for any, for the sake of it. It's you can tell that it's occasionally a little indulgent, but it's not so indulgent that it's difficult to read. It's perfectly easy to read, and depending on your sensitivities, you'll either thoroughly appreciate it, or be not bothered by it. Okay, I think that's that's probably reasonable. And then after the story, you have generally, I think in every chapter, 3 rites, right, to benefit from the lessons taught in the story. And that works. It's a format that works really nicely. It's enjoyable to read. It's enjoyable to think about whether you in fact go ahead and perform these rites or not. Of course, you'll benefit more if you actually perform these rites. I wonder how many people will in fact go and find moss, for the second chapter or whatever it might be, and maybe plenty of people will. Maybe I'm just being cynical. I don't know, but just the mere fact of thinking about these outcomes, thinking about these rites that follow the stories, there are some interesting lessons to be learnt. There are some interesting parts of your own psyche to be explored and to be uncovered, examined, worked with, enhanced for an overall very useful, very very good outcome, right? Very, very nice stuff. There we go. Some really thoughtful rites in the process, by the way, right? Some really interesting rites, and I like the fact that at the beginning of the book, the author says that you can absolutely pick a page, pick a chapter. You don't have to work through the book at all, but let alone in the correct order, But if there's one in particular that calls out to you, you can just have a read through that one, or in fact perform that entire rite. So I can recommend this one. This is a really nice take on fairy tales and folk tales, which I'll repeat are a principal element of my understanding of where magic exists. There we are. So that's Night House by Danielle Dulsky. I hope you enjoyed this brief overview. There are links down in the description, which are Amazon associate links. Now, if you can find this book in a bookshop near you, if you have an English-speaking bookshop near you, you could even ask them to order it in. However, if you're going to use Amazon anyway, then yes, the links down in the description are links that will give me a small commission at no extra expense to you. If you click on that link and add the book, or anything, in fact, it doesn't even have to be this book, to your shopping cart, and then go ahead and buy, right, from clicking to actually buying, then I will get a small percentage of that, which just makes these reviews a little more sustainable, right? So I really appreciate anyone who does use those links when you do decide to shop at Amazon. But again, please do support your local businesses if you are lucky enough to live close to an English-speaking bookshop. There we go, folks. I hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, click that like button, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to have a one-to-one chat with me, there are links down below to do that as well. And to support the channel, then the Patreon is the best way to do that. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you again with another video very soon. Bye-bye.